What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and it's time for another Q&A video. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into the actual video. Question number 1, why are we not in my bedroom? Well, there's a ton of construction going on around my house. Couple that with a bunch of dogs barking outside, and it's just a circus if you try to do a video upstairs. So we are down live in the No Holds Barred dungeon, where myself and Nicholas Stevenson do our No Holds Barred and Last Fan Standing wrestling podcasts. We've mentioned them in a couple of different videos. Head on over and check them out. Housekeeping item number 2. Why am I wearing sunglasses? I always wear sunglasses for the Q&As. If you go back and watch the other Q&A videos, you would know that. Housekeeping item number 3. Why am I wearing a toque? This was a special request from one of my longtime viewers and very, very good friends, Eric Schmumpkin, requested that I wear a toque to do my Q&A videos. I don't know if this is some kind of fetish that he has or he just thinks toques are funny. One way or the other, this one's for you, Eric. Halifax Moosehead's red toque. Okay, and without further ado, let's get into the Q&A. Now, this is going to be an extra special Q&A. It's the first one I've done in close to a year. I'm going to be doing 10 questions on this Q&A as opposed to the regular 5 or 6 that I did on the other ones. I had a bunch of old questions that people asked quite a while ago. Probably won't even remember that they asked them, so that's the ones that we're going to address on this one, as well as a couple new ones from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Question number 1 was asked by Jake McDonald via Facebook. If God is truly omnipotent and can do anything, shouldn't he technically be able to build a wall so huge that even he can't destroy it? Then again, if he can't destroy the wall he made, he's not omnipotent. Is being able to do anything really a paradox? Is God a paradox? Also, what's up with Mussolini? Now, this is a tough question, but this is one that I am actually going to answer in a certain style. I'm going to answer this question in the style of one of my favorite internet personalities, animated MMA journalist Tommy Toehold. Mussolini was a fascist douche-face like Stephen Harper, but with personality. As far as the questions about God, yes, God could build a wall so huge that even he couldn't destroy it. However, the God wall would not be impervious to Mark Hunt's overhand left, or an armbar from Ronda Rousey. Jake, thanks for your question. Viewer comment time. No, wait, shoot, that's the wrong show. Question number 2. Where do penises come from for gender reassignment surgery? This question was asked by Sarah Birch via Facebook. Now, Sarah, I can only assume that penises for gender reassignment surgery come from Peter North. If you watched any adult films from the late 80s through the mid-2000s, you can vouch that he probably has more than enough to spare. But when Peter's not available, I have to assume that the penises come from an elaborate mix of silly putty, PVC pipe, and 2 kiwi fruits. Thanks for your question. Morgan Zink asked via Facebook, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Bacon. The answer is always bacon. Once you've got bacon, you've got breakfast on lockdown. Thanks for your question. Question number 4. This also came from Jake McDonald via Facebook. Is there such a thing as human nature, aside from breathing, eating, hydrating, and finding shelter, that is to say, aside from staying alive, is there a distinct, immutable nature about humans? Or are our genetically inherited behaviors, these are big words, Jake, altered by environment so much that nature is irrelevant? Jake, you make me think too much. I've been guilty in the past of using the phrase human nature. So at least on a subconscious level, I guess I do believe that there is an immutable nature about humans. That being said, I would have to also believe that human nature, as it would have been prior to, let's say, the 60s, probably looks vastly different than human nature would look today. The idea of environment has changed so drastically in the last half-century that it couldn't help but affect human nature, as our very way of life has arguably been altered more drastically in that time frame than in any other time frame in recorded history. Thank you for your question, Jake, and thank you for not asking what human nature is, because we only have so much time. Question number 5 was asked to me by @HunterMalk on Twitter. Which artist or artists would you rather listen to for an entire year? Block Party, OJ the Juice Man, Psycho Sticks, or Serj Tankian solo career only? And honestly, this one to me is no contest. Serj Tankian is one of my all-time favorite musicians, and whether it's solo career or SOD, SOD of course standing for System of a Down for the uninitiated amongst us, Serj takes the cake in a landslide victory. Hunter, thank you very much for your question. Brady Crowell, a former student of mine and brother to one of my best friends, asks the question via Facebook, define the terms normal and different. And this is a really difficult question to answer in some ways, and in some other ways it's actually quite easy. The terms normal and different, to me anyways, are entirely subjective constructs. And what I mean by that is normal and different are likely to mean, for lack of a better term, different things for you than it does for me. To me, normal is waking up every day, checking my email, browsing Facebook, playing games online, watching television. These things are normal to me. To someone else, normal is waking up every day, praying multiple times a day, abstaining from the modern world in every single way that I just mentioned. And they view my way of life as different, just the same way as I view theirs. And the crazy part being, in 2013, we could be neighbors. My whole point here is there's no such thing as an objective normal and an objective different. It's all a matter of personal perspective, and as long as your own personal normal doesn't cause direct harm or endanger anyone else's personal normal, then your normal is no more or less valid than anyone else's. Shine on, you crazy diamond. Thanks for your question, Brady. Question number 7 was asked to me by Vaughn Whiskey via Twitter. What got you into movies? And for anybody that knows me, you can probably kind of see where this is going. Film is one of my first and most passionate loves. Like, ever since the first times I remember going to the movies, I fell in love with the whole atmosphere of film, with the whole process and act of going to the movies. And I still love those things to this day. I dissect movies with the critical eye that I do because of that passion. I want art to be successful, and I'm not shy about voicing my criticisms if I don't feel that it is. Movies also serve the purpose of being one of my escapes from reality. You know, it's 2 hours where all I have to worry about is absorbing and living within what I see on screen. At that point, everything else can wait, and as far as I'm concerned, our world moves far too fast if you don't have escapes like that. So thanks for your question, Vaughn, and I hope that answers it. Question number 8 was asked to me by @BruceDundee via Twitter. It took a long while for Toronto to legalize UFC, legalize mixed martial arts. Do you think New York is going to stay steadfast, or will Ronda Rousey sway their vote? Bruce, if the fact that New York is home to one of the hottest young MMA champions in the world, John Jones, if that fact isn't enough to cause that state to legislate and legalize mixed martial arts, I'm honestly not sure what is. Maybe the fact that it's also home to fighters like Rashad Evans, former UFC champion, Chris Weidman, current #1 contender for the UFC middleweight title, Matt Serra, former UFC champion, Jay Huron, Bellator tournament champion and UFC alumni, Costa Philippou, currently a top contender in the UFC as well, Dennis Bermudez, a finalist on the Ultimate Fighter reality show, Phil Baroni, veteran of UFC, Strikeforce, Pride, Elite XC, currently fighting in ONE FC, as well as Lyman Good, who is a tournament champion in Bellator as well. Maybe the fact that New York is also home to all of these talented fighters, maybe that'll help sway the vote too. Seriously, New York, get your shit together and legalize yourself some MMA. Bruce, thank you for your question. Question number 9, ever break a bone playing sports? And this question was asked to me by Eric Schmumpkin via YouTube. No broken bones in my life from playing any sport or any activity whatsoever, Eric. However, my left knee has been either partially or completely dislocated over 20 times in my life, and my right knee has been either partially or completely dislocated an additional 10 times at least. And I remember the very first time that happened, this is a very famous story. It was significant because not only was it my best friend in the world at the time that caused the injury to happen, but also because the only reason it happened, playing a game of half-court soccer and me entering into what's called a butterfly stance for a goaltender, where if the goaltender's legs are like this, he comes down like this at the knees in a butterfly position to try to make a save on a low shot. I entered into that position, 235-pound and counting, me, entered into that position to try to make a save. It's significant because I failed miserably and that resulted in a goal, which added insult to my crippling injury. So no broken bones, but there's certainly a lot of scar tissue from all of these injuries. Eric, thank you for your question. And the final question on this Q&A was asked to me by a former classmate of mine, Jeff Mosier, via Twitter. When wrestlers, i.e. The Rock, John Cena, CM Punk, speak in the ring, is it rehearsed at all, or is it just pure talent on the mic? Their public speaking ability is quite amazing when one thinks about it. Jeff, first of all, thanks for your question. In a lot of cases, it really depends on the person that's speaking. The more you watch professional wrestling, the easier it becomes to identify the guys who are still working on their mic work and therefore run a lot more on script than the guys who have such command over the mic work that they don't need much more than okay, go from here to here to here, make sure you reference this and this, go. And a lot of the guys you mentioned there by name, Rock, Cena, Punk, fall into the second category. Guys that don't really need as much direction as some of the younger guys on the roster who are still getting a handle on the mic work. CM Punk says in his DVD famously that he would be handed scripts from the creative writers and he would rip the script in half right in front of them and hand it back to them because he's not a guy that needs to be on script. He just needs to have just the most basic idea of where he's supposed to go, and he just sort of fills in the blanks everywhere else. And again, the more you watch, the more you'll be able to pick out which is which. Jeff, thank you very much for your question. That's it, everybody. That is the 4th episode of Q&A with Bridgewater's Finest. If I didn't get around to your question, I apologize. I have a lot more saved on the computer up there to go through next episode. If you want to ask me a question, feel free. Ask it to me on Facebook if you have me. Ask it to me on Twitter at @blockbuster_guy. Send me a message or a comment on YouTube and ask me a question, and I'll make sure to get them in the pool for the next Q&A video. Thanks everybody for watching. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, @blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and I hope next time I get to be in my own room to do the next video.